a holiday. On Friday, Wall Street drifted to a mixed finish, closing out its 10th winning week in the last 11. The S&P 500 ended up Friday 0.1% and remains within 0.3% of its record. The Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy and cool with an overnight low of 38. Tomorrow, look for some morning showers. You'll carry into the early afternoon. The high temperature, 52. Tomorrow night is bitter cold. 23 is our low, while on Wednesday, we're very chilly with a high temperature of just 46 to go with a nighttime low of 22. Bundle up. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Answering the call. Running in when everything you feel says run out. Pushing yourself beyond your known limits to help. Living to tell the story. Visit scvolunteerfire.org.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Good to have you with us on this Monday edition of Sports Talk on MLK Day for 2024. Good to have you with us. Know today's a meaningful day for a lot of people, a lot in our audience. So we certainly understand what the day means to you. We appreciate you joining us tonight to kind of get back into the swing of things. Many of you had the day off, I'm sure. And now it's time to kind of take that step back towards normalcy. And that means talking sports with us tonight here on Sports Talk for the next couple of hours. Phil Kornbluth, Pat Daniel here in Columbia. Chris Bergen joining us from the Berge Palace over in Sardis. Now, I know how most of you are thinking. I know most of you are thinking Korn's going to come on the show tonight and talk all about his Packers beating the Cowboys in the playoffs. Not just beating the Cowboys, savaging the Cowboys, destroying the Cowboys, embarrassing the Cowboys. That's what you think I'm going to do. And you would be right. Oh, it's always good to beat those yellow-bellied, dirt-licking Cowboys in Dallas, in front of Jerry, in his world, with his two boys. Yes. And we ain't done yet, folks. We ain't done yet. Look out, San Fran.
Got a different animal coming up this weekend, though.
Well, we just beat a 12-win team at their place.
True.
We can do the same thing again. That's
I don't think anybody would argue, though, that San Francisco is better than Dallas.
Would you take Brock Purdy over Dak Prescott?
Ooh.
Would you?
That's an interesting question, especially down the stretch. Prescott had a good year.
Mm-hmm.
And what surprised me, and props to your boys yesterday, it was the first time I'd had a chance all season to really sit down and watch the Packers. I was awfully impressed because Dallas's defense throughout the season had been pretty good. And Love made them look silly. I mean, absolutely look silly. And I didn't realize this until after the game was over, but that's where Green Bay wants to play playoff games against the Cowboys. 6-0 all time now when playing at AT&T Stadium? So why not? But I was awfully impressed with Love. I thought he did a terrific job and played extremely well and just made Dallas look terrible. And the fact that the Cowboys could not get anything going on offense until pretty much I think Green Bay had started pulling guys out of the stands to play on defense in the fourth quarter. I mean, I would not sell them down the river against San Francisco. I'm just saying I think the 49ers are a better team than what you just saw this weekend.
Well, I mean, look, it's pretty simple. If the Packers play like they did this past Sunday, this coming Saturday, they'll be right there in it. Now, San Francisco has not been a good place for the Packers in the postseason. And so it's tough. And they're always good, of course, San Francisco. That's just been a tough place for Green Bay. The West Coast has been a pretty tough place for them, even in the Aaron Rodgers era more recently, and I guess maybe even going back to the Favre days. But hey, we'll see what happens. Right now, the Packers are playing with what you would call house money. They're loosey, they're goosey. They know they've got nothing to lose, so there's no pressure on them. I mean, the Cowboys came out like they were constipated. I mean, seriously, did you look at their expressions? And I mean,
no doubt,
as a team, if a team can be constipated, it was the Cowboys yesterday. And they were tight. I think it shocked them when the Packers took the opening kickoff, went right down the field and scored. And they were like, wait a second, this ain't supposed to be happening. And I will say this, Joe Barry dialed up a really good defensive game plan. I think that the Packers have gotten some players in their secondary now healthy, and he is able to do more things that he likes to do with coverages, like more man coverage, so he can bring certain pressures. And the other thing was the ability to run the ball on first down as they did with Aaron Jones was huge. That just really allowed Jordan Love to hang around in the pocket. The officials were certainly trying to help the Cowboys yesterday. Could you see Belichick really working for a guy as hands-on as Jones and his sons? You know, he works for Robert Kraft, or did, and Robert Kraft's son is in the organization as well. But as far as I could tell, they were pretty hands-off with Belichick and what the team was doing while they were winning.
Sure.
Jerry Jones is never hands-off. I mean, this is a guy who has his own press conference after every game. This is a guy who does his own radio show with his two sons on the Monday after every game. I mean, he's as big as any coach the Cowboys will have, because all the media in Dallas wants to know is, what does Jerry think? That's why you see the TV cameras shoot up to his box every time something bad happens to the Cowboys. They want to see his reaction. I was just happy to see some of those stitches in his redone face kind of, stretch and break yesterday as he was grimacing as we continue to pound away. 27-0. Couldn't believe it. I'm not surprised the Packers won. Thought that we could win. Just surprised by how they did it. Did not think it would be anywhere close to the way it turned out.
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up, because that's been the biggest problem I've had thus far in the wild card round. That game emblematic of just blowouts across the board. I mean, outside of the game last night between Detroit and the Rams, we have not had a competitive game in the playoffs thus far.
That was a great game.
45-14, 26-7, 48-32. And the final score of the Green Bay-Dallas game, if you didn't watch it and wondering what Phil's talking about, well, they only lost by 6. It wasn't that close.
No.
It was not anywhere close to that close.
That had to be the most misleading 400-yard passing game in the history of football.
There's no doubt.
And the Packers had really they didn't almost mess up, but they did have to put the starters back in because they let the Cowboys go down there and score too quickly. And there was time, and believe me, they were up the final score. They were up whatever it was, and I could see if the Packers had to punt again, Dallas go down and score, and then facing the onside kick. And every Packer fan knows the history of the Packers with onside kicks in the playoffs is horrible. Now, the onside kick now is not what it used to be, but we've had one onside kick after another go against us in clutch situations that cost us playoff games. So I didn't want to face a situation where the Cowboys scored again and had a chance to get the ball on an onside kick because I just know the history. But anyway, on to other things. There is an NFL game going on today, 21-7, Buffalo leading the Steelers at the half. By the way, I just saw a tweet, 40 million viewers for the Packers and Cowboys yesterday.
Wow.
Peacock, for all those complaining and saying they were going to boycott Peacock, especially those who hit up some people for their username and password, some people who would do that for Peacock, who would hit up people for
I definitely asked you. I thought we had a sports talk account.
I refused.
I refused to pay for it, but I'll use Phil's account.
Anyway, they had 24 million viewers. It's insane. It
really is.
It's got to be the gambling. It's got to be the gambling. I mean, all of a sudden we've got all these multi-million more of pro football fans coming out of the woodwork to watch these games.
Well, that might have been a little bit from Taylor Swift. My nieces, who are 10 and 12 years old, are suddenly into football. It blew my mind. We went out last week, went out to lunch, and they were telling me how excited they were to watch, not to watch any players or anything on the field, but they were excited to see Taylor Swift during the Travis Kelce game is what they were calling it.
Well, I was never going to mention this, but since you mentioned that, the worst thing that can happen to a married man at this stage of life is what?
Death. Divorce.
No, it's worse than death. It's worse than divorce. The wife becoming interested in football. Because
I'll take that back. My wife is a big sports fan. Of course, she works in the sports profession. So
my wife is a teacher and retired at that, but never gave a hoot about football. But now she's got a couple of friends who are huge NFL fans, and now, she wants to watch games. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, you're not watching with me. You can, go to the other room or something. But no, I'm not watching a game and listening to the questions. No, not doing it. So I refuse to do it. Now, maybe I'm a bad person for doing that, and they can hold it against me, but I'm not doing it.
I'll actually tell you a funny story about that. Tell all my folks for a moment. My dad, when he goes to ball games, he always wants to watch the game, obviously, in person, and then listen to the radio broadcast. Well, my mother, of course, sits beside him. She's not listening to the game. And so as the game goes along, she has questions, and she keeps bumping him in the shoulder to ask him questions. He finally got to a point, he said, write them down. I'll deal with them at halftime.
Don't bother me while I'm focused.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would deal with this nonsense at halftime.
Yeah. All right. Phone number 888-898-2525 for those of you who are with us tonight on this holiday night. We welcome you. Ellis Johnson will be with us at 7:30. We're going to talk about with whom he coached. He didn't play for him. He did coach with him twice. Knows him extremely well. Knew him extremely well. As you know, Coach Baker passed away over the weekend at the age of 94, I believe it was, born in 1929. And one of the most well-respected, not only football coaches, but human beings to come out of the state of South Carolina. Yeah. Everybody loved Art Baker. And, man, Furman, and, of course, he was Citadel as well. That Furman loses Dick Sheridan and now Art Baker, in With
Agreed.
Beamer, when you left, you're gone. But I guess maybe you look at things differently when a guy wants to come back and he's a good player.
Phil, it's a great question because I rolled back because I wanted to make sure I had my facts in order before we talked about this. And I looked at his comments during the Gator Bowl 2 years ago, I guess now. And some of the guys, and Gilbert Edmond was one of those guys who was considering the transfer portal, and they wanted to put their name in the portal, but then also play in the bowl game. And Beamer said, no, I don't want players down there that have a foot out the door and another foot in the program. So I don't understand the grand stretch of then bringing him back into the fold after he goes away for a year. I mean, here's a guy who quit on your program, thought there was a better opportunity for him somewhere else, and now it's coming back. Maybe, like you said, maybe this is the new era of college football, and we've got to get used to guys not only transferring multiple times, but maybe like Austin Steiger did, maybe leaving the program, going somewhere else, and then coming back to your old program. Maybe that's the new wave of the transfer portal. Like I mentioned in the story today, the transfer portal certainly giveth and taketh away, but it also has somewhat of a boomerang effect, evidently now too.
Yeah, I was trying to think of any other case where you had that happen, where a player went back from where he originally transferred. And you're right. You just cited one. Austin
Steiger's the only other one I can think of, right?
Yeah.
Oklahoma to USC, back to Oklahoma.
Yeah. So anyway, that's got to help the Gamecocks because he was a good player and he developed. He was not a particularly heavily recruited player coming out of high school that I recall, but he did develop during his time at South Carolina to where he became a starter for them at defensive end. Then he transfers to Florida State. And I think he was fairly productive. Don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think he was fairly productive at Florida State. So good pickup for the Gamecocks. So I think that would, without counting it, I think that would give him about, I guess he counts as a transfer, right? He's coming back from another school.
Yeah, I would think so. Has to, yeah.
So that would give him about 16 transfers coming in, I believe, last time I counted up the numbers. So more on recruiting coming up a little bit later on. I think the other really strange story of the weekend was involving T-Rob, the former Gamecock defensive coordinator, Travaris Robinson, and he was at Alabama with Nick Saban, and then he, when the change happened there, he takes the co-defensive coordinator job at Georgia, but then when DeBoer comes in as a new coach at Alabama, he interviews T-Rob yesterday and offers T-Rob the DC job himself. So then he's apparently considering staying in Alabama. But then he decides to go ahead and take the money and take the position at Georgia. So he is going on to Georgia to join that staff there, which allows Will Muschamp, who has a son playing at Vanderbilt quarterback. I think this is Witt playing at Vanderbilt. business with Boston College. Man, shot the lights out in this one. They shot 69% in the second half, 54% from the game. Gerard and Hall, 26 each. Second time this season, they both scored 20 or more in the same game. 14 of 18. This was pretty impressive. From the latter moments of the first half through about halfway of the second half, the Tigers made 14 of 18 from the floor.
Wow.
Yeah, and they needed to because BC shot 61% in the second half, 51% for the game, but they really couldn't. They fell behind at the half and really couldn't catch up in the second half. Clemson was 18 of 22 from the line. They won the boards by 15. Hall had a double-double with 11 rebounds. That's his 10th of his career. Tigers had 10 offensive boards for 15 points, so they did a lot of good things in winning that game and snapping their 3-game losing streak, and they will host Georgia Tech tomorrow night at 9. And then South Carolina had that exciting road win at Missouri, a game that with the way Missouri's been going, though they're still tough at home, you had to go get that one if you're the Gamecocks, and they did. Cooper tied the game with a 3 with 25 seconds left. In overtime, Wright hit the game winner with 13 seconds left. Missouri missed a 3 with a second to play. Mack was big with 21 points, 3 others in double figures. They won despite Michi Johnson only scoring 5. That's a good
big
sign.
That's
a good sign. A lot of contributors. Josh Gray hit 2 big free throws for him in regulation. They did overcome 16 turnovers.
Old Dominion team that has struggled and without their head coach who yesterday, Jeff Jones, the head coach at ODU, announced he's going to be out the remainder of the season, taking a leave of absence from the program after suffering a heart attack when they were out in Hawaii right before the Diamond Head Classic. So they're still trying to find their way, but they've got some talent on that team, and that game just kept going back and forth and back and forth. It was a really entertaining game, and much like the South Carolina-Missouri contest, Coastal needed that win, and they found a way late to pull it off.
Tonight, the USC women, undefeated, ranked number 1. They'll be in action at the CLA against the Kentucky Wildcats. That game will tip off a little bit after 7 o'clock. We'll come back and get some of your phone calls here on Sports Talk. Be right back. Don't go away.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Cloudy and cool with an overnight low of 38. Tomorrow, look for some morning showers. You'll carry into the early afternoon. The high temperature 52. Tomorrow night is bitter cold. 23 is our low, while on Wednesday we're very chilly with a high temperature of just 46 to go with a nighttime low of 22. Bundle up. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Experience matters when it comes to taking care of your loved one. At Oakleaf Village, Lexington, we have a leadership team that has over 100 years of caring for seniors. This means we have the experience you need. You can rest assured that your loved one is receiving exceptional care when living at Oakleaf Village. Don't trust the most important person in your life with anyone. Trust the experts. Trust Oakleaf Village. Visit us at oakleafvillagelexington.com.
The lead-off Republican presidential voting contest is just hours away. Voters in Iowa will head to caucus sites across the state on Monday night to register their preference for the 2024 GOP nominee. Conditions will be brutal, and it will be the coldest Iowa caucus.
Well, if you care about the national rankings, ranked number 4 nationally, third most transfers among those recorded by On3. And the question of the week was, how much do you think Beamer has improved the program with these transfers? 790 votes, 33.7% believe the program has improved 75%. 25.1% said 50% improvement. 22.4% said a 25% improvement. 18.9% said a 100% improvement. It's too much math for me to take in one poll question. All right, let's get to some phone calls. Folks have been waiting. We appreciate it. Phone number, 888-898-2525-2110. Buffalo leading the Steelers. 5:07 to go, third quarter. Kind of neat having NFL football on a Monday afternoon. Again, keep in mind, if they have huge TV numbers, which they probably will, you can expect the NFL to do this moving forward, have a playoff game on MLK afternoon. You wait and see if they don't do that.
Kind of surprised they haven't tried to do that. You know, the NBA is taking over some, and they're playing afternoon games as well. I'm surprised. Since we've gone to this super wild card weekend, we've got 6 games. Let's spread them out and have two a week, 2 a day rather. Yep. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Yep,
and you got college basketball going on today. You got high school basketball going on today. So we go to Gamecock Larry with us in Swansea to open things up tonight. Gamecock Larry, welcome in. How are you, sir?
Doing just fine. How are you, sir?
We're doing great. It's great to have you with us. Hope you had a good weekend.
I had a good weekend. Basketball team
Hang on, Chris. We'll get to you in a minute. Wofford is 176. Citadel 217. Getting to you. Presbyterian 297. Upstate is 313. And Coastal Carolina is 315. Charleston Southern is 330. And South Carolina State is 335. So there you go with your net rankings going into this week. And
which I thought was interesting, too, because Clemson actually moved up a spot in the net rankings, but fell out of the AP Top 25 today. So it shows you if I'm Clemson, I would much prefer to be moving up in the net rankings than staying in the AP poll.
Well, keep in mind,
it's a lot heavier.
Those net rankings, they take into consideration, the AP poll takes into consideration what you do this week.
Yeah, exactly.
And how did you play? The net rankings, the way they're computed, of course, they take into consideration what you did and also
everybody else,
the opponent you faced, and what your previous opponents, what they did, and all kind of different data that goes into that. So that's why it's a little bit strange to see them fall out of the ranking, but still move up in the net or whatever the case may be. All right, let's go to the break, and we'll come back with more 2525 South Carolina Education Lottery.
Given back to qualifying members in the form of loyalty bonus dividends, proving once again that it pays to be a Founders member. Founders is also committed to pouring time and resources into the local communities we serve. If you aren't a member yet, what are you waiting for? Join Founders today. Visit foundersfcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Hi, yes, I'll have the club sandwich and house salad.
You got it, sweetie. I'll throw in a pair of designer sunglasses as well.
Just lunch, thanks.
How about a week at my boss's oceanfront villa?
What?
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Today's special, a trip to low Earth orbit in a private spaceship.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity. And members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel. is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives. And as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and more at touchstoneenergy.com.
What about any of the coaches? Since Washington coach is bringing basically all of his coaches with him, is that correct? And how are we? Is Coach Beamer looking to maybe get any of the coaches that were going to be released from Alabama, as far as like the offensive line coach or any of the other coaches?
Well, let's take it a step at a time. There's been some decommitments from Alabama. There's been several Alabama players to enter the portal, John. There's been several Washington players to enter the portal, John, and they've had some decommitments. The typical thing you expect when there's a coaching change now in today's college football. There's a lot of people who just automatically, they don't even want to hear from the new coach. They just make that move. I mean, Washington filled this. South Carolina? Does he accept the move to tight end? Is he okay with that? I mean, he is still making big money, and I do think he wants to stay in Columbia. That would be his number one choice. So maybe all that together, will satisfy him, even though he may not be crazy about moving from wide receiver to tight end from what I'm hearing. That right now appears to be the big question. We'll wait and see probably after the February sign. Beamer deciding to make some other moves, but right now we just don't know.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
You guys do a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Yeah, Chris, that's something to keep an eye on with the Gamecocks right now with the hiring of Coley to come in from A&M and take over at wide receiver, which is a good hire. I mean, you had a position and you could get James Coley. That's a good pickup for Beamer. If you're Justin Stepp, it does come at your expense from the standpoint of coaching. if I can put
Now,
my
that would be
eyes
a
on that
surprise
story. I
in my
think
mind.
I think they said that it came. I think it was Tony Morrell with a big spur. Let me go back here and see. By the way, nobody's identified yet who that recruiting alert has gone out for related to what Beamer did today. Let's see. Justin Stepp will shift over coaching tight ends, provided he stays on the staff. Stepp was contacted by multiple schools following the season, but declined to pursue any of them because he wanted to remain in Columbia. At the time, he had no idea of the shift in responsibility that was to come once Corley came on board, according to sources that he talked to. So, yeah, called him out of the blue. Hit the break here. Top of the hour. We'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Iowan GOP members are heading for their caucuses this evening to vote their choice for the Republican nomination for president. Donald Trump holds a significant lead in the polls, but weather is making itself felt with sub-zero temperatures and wind gusts reaching 45 degrees below zero. Salem Radio Network's Campaign 24 correspondent in Iowa, Joey Hudson, says the weather will likely be a factor in turnout for the caucuses.
It has had a very big impact, and I've asked a number of people here, will you go to your caucus on Monday evening? And some of them were saying no, that it was just too bad.
Polls show Donald Trump with a significant lead over former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Pundits say the fight in Iowa will be over who comes in second place behind Trump. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has been released from the hospital. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
After spending 2 weeks at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center to treat complications from prostate cancer surgery, the 70-year-old Austin is back home. Doctors say his prognosis is excellent, and he will work from home as he recovers. The Pentagon chief caused a firestorm by failing to inform the White House about his hospitalization. President Biden said that was a lapse in judgment, but he still has confidence in Austin. Greg Clugston, Washington.
It's another day of brutally cold temperatures and dangerous wind chills across much of the United States. Monday promises to deliver the coldest temperatures ever for Iowa's presidential nominee.
Pain relief that works and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Seth Polhaus brings hope and insight as he fights against socialism and communism on the Man in America podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
The role of the digital world in shaping our perception of the real world not be overlooked. It seems like all of these mechanisms are dividing us in endless ways.
Subscribe to Man in America today on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Directed. Iran has freed 2 female journalists jailed for more than a year for covering the death of Mahsa Amini, which triggered nationwide protests.
Nilüfer Hamedi
and Elahi Mohammadi were joyfully greeted by their families and friends after serving 17 months in jail. In some of the photos posted online, the two women are seen smiling without their hijabs. Niloufar Hamadi had been serving a 13-year prison sentence. Her photos confirmed that Masa Amini died in the custody of the religious police almost a year and a half ago. Elahi Mohammadi had reported on Amini's funeral and had been sentenced to 12 years in jail.
BBC correspondent Sebastian Usher reporting. A plane taxiing for departure with another aircraft at Chicago O'Hare International Airport on Sunday evening, according to the Federal Aviation Administration. No injuries were reported. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy and cool with an overnight low of 38. Tomorrow, look for some morning showers. You'll carry into the early afternoon. The high temperature 52. Tomorrow night is bitter cold. 23 is our low, while on Wednesday we're very chilly with a high temperature of just 46 to go with a nighttime low of 22. Bundle up. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back. Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Phone number, 888-898-2525. 24-10. Bills leading the Steelers, 13:35 to play. Fourth quarter there in Buffalo. Snow all over the place. I tell you, I mean, football fans, we're just crazy, man. It's got to be, different. I think the television networks are subliminally somehow slipping some sort of drug through our television screens or speakers that we're inhaling that just makes us want to go back to football time and time again. I guess it's called gambling. But how about the fans in Kansas City and the fans in Buffalo sitting through some of the worst conditions you could ever imagine for a football game to sit through? Just incredible. And they're packing the place. They packed the place in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah. It's incredible. I saw the video that you were referencing during the first hour of the program of Steelers fans walking to their seats through waist-high snow. And it gives you an idea because they had Buffalo residents who they paid overnight to come and shovel snow, and they still weren't able to get enough of it out of there. So there was snow. They at least got the field cleared. And then for Kansas City, I just don't know how you wear enough clothing to stay warm in that scenario. I get the football players because they're moving around, but the fans – that's a different kind of hardy that I'm just not. And I like cold weather, but that's just a different kind of hardy that I don't understand.
Yeah.
From the Kansas City Miami game, did you guys happen to see the video that I think the concessions of the stadium put out? And it was showing they were using the refrigerators to keep the water warm. And you're hearing me say that correctly. They used the refrigerators to keep the water warm. It was that much colder outside that they did a video of somebody taking a bottle of water out of the fridge and then holding it, and you saw it slowly freeze, at least the outer portion of the bottle. I don't think it was freezing solid, but freezing the outside from the top down. And it reminded me of a scene from a movie years and years ago, probably 15 years ago now, The Day After Tomorrow. Yep. And it was about one of those.
The same thing.
Yeah, because I remember there was a scene in that where the same kind of thing. They were holding water and you saw it slowly freeze. And that was unbelievable. But I got to ask, if y'all lived in those places, would you go? Because as much as it might pain me, I think I would without hesitation, because that's the type of story. I was at this game that you'd be telling your grandkids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a once in a lifetime, just like a lot of people out there that watched it on TV are going to lie the rest of their lives and claim they were there.
Yeah, I was there. Of course I was there. That was only the third coldest playoff game in NFL history. I think there were actually 2 I saw over the weekend. They were indeed colder, with the wind chill and all, which is just hard to fathom.
Well, are they still calling the Green Bay the Ice Bowl the coldest one ever?
And then there was a Freezer Bowl in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And then this one. Yeah. I'm not sure if they've nicknamed the Kansas City game yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be the Water Freezer Bowl. I'm not sure.
Just coldest crap bowl. How about that? For the caller earlier who asked about Alabama and transfers out, I'll give you a quick rundown. They just had today Des Ricks, a cornerback. He entered the portal, John, today from Alabama. Sean Murphy, their standout defensive end, linebacker. Not only did he enter the portal, he's transferring to Florida State. So he's made his decision where he's going. He's going to State. And Shaz Preston, wide receiver, he's transferring to Tulane. Isaiah Hastings, defensive lineman, he's headed to Syracuse. Let's see if anybody else jumps up at me here from Alabama who's made a decision and entered the portal and headed somewhere else. That's all I see here early on. So that's a handful of guys. Washington, just seeing a couple of Washington. Dyson McCutcheon, a cornerback. He's in the portal, John. Nate Caleppo, an offensive tackle. He's in it. Austin Mack, quarterback, obviously a backup. Alabama, Washington guys, some of these guys that played in the playoffs are a little bit behind others because of the length of their seasons. Javon Green, another Washington player, cornerback, who is transferring to Stanford. That was a brutal day. Okay, let's go to the calls once again. 888-898-2525. Ellis Johnson is coming up. We'll have recruiting for you coming up as well. Stay tuned for that. But let's welcome into the program. It's Keith in Camden this time around. Hello, Keith. Good to have you with us.
Hey, Phil, Chris, Pat. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What, based on what we have through regular recruiting and the transfer portal, what would you say our 2 greatest needs are as we round out the next month? And I understand we have a real talented quarterback, but we don't have a lot of experience there. So what do you think we're looking for?
Yeah, I think they would still like to have a quarterback out of the portal, John. I don't know that Robbie Ashford visited this weekend. He may have. Nobody's confirmed it publicly. There was reports that he was supposed to visit, I think, on Friday, but I've seen nothing since. So I don't know if he came in. So they're probably still, if that's the case, they might still be shopping for a quarterback in the portal, John. But as far as the rest of what they need based on who they already have committed, they've got 32 newcomers coming in. By position, you've got 5 wide receivers, you got 2 tight ends, you got 3 safeties, you got 1, 2, 3. You got 4 running backs, you got a quarterback, you got a punter, you got 3 offensive tackles, a guard, and a center. You got 4 linebackers, 3 defensive tackles, 3 defensive ends, and a cornerback and a pear tree. So that's what that just hit me for some reason. So
what about Will Rogers to USC?
To do what?
To be quarterback. I mean, would he not fit in? Would he not be fairly comparable to maybe what Spencer Rattler was able to come in with, like a gunslinger mentality?
Well, the dude's one of the all-time.
That's what I mean.
Great passers.
And if he's now back in the portal from Washington, just trying to read the tea leaves here, would that not be somebody that Shane Beamer and company might go after? I mean, he threw for over 500 this past year here in Columbia, did he not?
Yes, he did. I would think they would if there was interest. I don't know.
Money.
Why wouldn't he follow DeBoer to Alabama if he liked him at Washington?
All I can think is because Milroe's there.
Well, that's true.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So again, it looks like, except for that other quarterback spot, as I look at what they have coming in, Keith, it looks like they have filled pretty much all their positional needs.
Yeah.
Maybe another. Could they use another corner? Maybe could they use another corner, or maybe somebody I'm listing at another position will end up playing corner. That happens all the time. Maybe one of these safeties, one of these guys I have listed as safety could end up playing corner. You never know. I try to give them the identity of the position that they primarily played, but they can sometimes be moved.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
No, sir. One thing. Go Packers.
Yes. Music to my ears.
I tell you what, Love looked great. He played a heck of a ball game.
The guy had a perfect quarterback rating. A perfect quarterback rating. So I don't know how you can play any better protecting the football. And I mean, some of his throws are just ridiculous. But I'll say this. His offensive line has gotten really better over the last half of the season because the same guys are playing snap in and snap out. They've been able to stay healthy. They're giving him more protection. You know, the Cowboys hardly touched him yesterday. They hardly got to him. I'm not even sure they had – well, I think they had 1 sack early. That was kind of a run, but he didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Otherwise, I don't think they hardly touched him. And his mobility and his ability to throw on the run with different angles and put the ball right where it's supposed to be, my goodness.
It was unbelievable. And the best part of the whole game was seeing Jerry swirl around in his chair.
I love it.
Stand the Cowboys.
I love it. Dirt-eating, yellow-belly, sap-sucking Cowboys. Love it.
Yeah. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Keith.
What?
Well, Jordan Love now, I don't have the exact stat in front of me. I believe it's his last 9 games, maybe. The last however many games of the regular season, he had 18 touchdown passes to only 1 interception. Now you add the 3 to the 0 yesterday. Jordan Love's had 21 passing touchdowns to only 1 interception over, I believe, the second half of the season, now into the playoffs. I don't feel for Bears fans right now as a Panthers fan because they're going to get our #1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And they got DJ Moore. But, God, they just must be sick. And Vikings fans and Lions maybe to an extent. Lions to a lesser extent because they're doing really well. But Bears fans must be sick. They just miss time and time and time and time again on the quarterback. And now here are the Packers looking like a potential 3rd straight Hall of Fame type caliber player. Just unbelievable.
Well, let's don't put him in the Hall just yet, but it's off to a good start.
He's awfully talented. That's why I said he's on that trajectory, but he just has that level of
better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity. And members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through co-op connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives. And as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
All right, time for the recruiting report tonight. It is brought to you by Seawells and Seawells. Of course, the place to go for the very best daily luncheon buffet every day from 11 till 2. You hear us talk about it regularly. Jared Curtis, 6'3", 210 of Nashville, was at USC Sunday. He was at Georgia Saturday. He's going to Ohio State this coming weekend. He has a top 5: Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas A&M. Last season, he threw for 2,522 yards, 25 touchdowns. As a freshman, 2,313 yards, 27 touchdowns. Offensive tackle Michael Carroll, 6'6", 292, Doylestown, PA, plans to visit USC this Saturday. The new OL coach at Penn State was by on Friday to check in on him. He also has offers from Michigan, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Boston College, Missouri, Michigan State, Maryland, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Baylor, and others. During the season, he visited Michigan twice, Wisconsin, Virginia Tech, and Rutgers. Hale McGranahan, the Big Spur reporter, Gaffney offensive tackle Shed Surratt, 6'5", 290, will visit USC this coming weekend, Georgia Tech on the 27th, Florida February 3rd. 2026 offensive and defensive lineman Desmond Green of Timberland plans to visit USC Saturday. The Gamecocks were the first major program to offer Green and visited last summer and for a game last fall. He also went to games last season at Clemson, Georgia, Florida State, and Virginia Tech. He also has offers from Georgia, Virginia. Third, 5'11", 160 of, I know I'm going to mispronounce this. Help me out, Chris. Destrehan? No. Destrehan?
Not sure.
Destrehan, Louisiana. He is one of the fastest players in Louisiana. Also runs track. He is clocked as the fastest prospect at a national combine earlier this month. Michigan, Texas A&M, Nebraska, Georgia Tech, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Miami have also offered. Safety Jonte
They were very chilly with a high temperature of just 46 to go with a nighttime low of 22. Bundle up. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Hey, who wants to make a resolution they can keep? Let's resolve to eat better pizza. Come on, you can do it with the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Let's start slow with the crust. We'll hand toss that spring water dough just for you. Then add the freshest ingredients and serve it hot. Now, lift it, you're doing it. It's a change of pizza lifestyle. Happy New You from the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Iowa Republicans are headed to their state's caucuses on Monday with a greater desire to focus on illegal immigration than address the health of the U.S. economy. It's a possible sign that cultural battles might be eclipsing pocketbook issues as a motivator. The finding comes from AP Votecast in a survey of more than 1,500 voters who are set to attend the leadoff caucuses across Iowa tonight. Many in the survey are expressing skepticism about the government's legal system and the integrity of U.S. elections. The survey is conducted by the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs Research. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says he's eager to return to the Pentagon after being released from a hospital where he was treated for complications from surgery for prostate cancer he kept secret from President Biden. More details at srnnews.com.
I was thinking about the things that matter to me when it comes to calling the plumber. First, most of us call the plumber out of a need, often a crisis. So you want reliability. Then we're in a vulnerable place already. So you want someone you can trust, someone who will be fair in their pricing and handle things professionally. These are some of the reasons I feel comfortable recommending Franklin Plumbing and And maybe this might not matter as much to some people, but they're locally plumbing companies you've heard of used to be local, and now they're owned by big national or even international conglomerates. Working with a locally owned company matters. It keeps your pricing down, and the money stays local here in the community. Josh and his team at Franklin makes customer service their top priority. I trust them. You can too, especially during these vulnerable times. Online, it's franklinplumbing.sc.com or call them 799-2222. That's 799-2222.
Thinking about investing in a hot tub? Great idea. Hot tubs offer relaxing hydrotherapy for tired muscles and stressed minds. But beware, all spas are not the same. At Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, we offer hot spring and free flow spas exclusively for their quality, energy efficiency, and affordability. And we have everything to keep your spa and pool sparkling, clean, and crystal clear. Come see it all at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive and JackOliverPools.com.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Every Tuesday at 8:30 to 9 a.m., we'll be talking about issues that concern seniors and their families.
So join us right here on The Point Radio for the Positive Points on Aging, brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
As you welcome the new year, we invite you to celebrate